Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the KVGC Les Schwab Tire Pigskin Preview. Well, last week was Big Game Week, and when we come back, we're going to go over those two big games and look into what's happening in Motherlode League action this week, so stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks!
Thanks for not just selling me tires.
Thanks for running out to my car to greet me.
Like running.
Thanks for checking my brakes for free!
For fixing my flat.
For free.
And being just hassle-free.
For talking to me like an intelligent human being.
You don't see that too often.
Thanks for hustling to get me out of there.
Without making me feel hustled.
So thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing the right thing by not just selling me tires.
Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters.
Well, last week was Big Game Week, and there were two great games and one not so much. Sonora remained undefeated by just thrashing an undermanned Somerville team 43-7. And again this week, well, they've got a pretty easy one this week as Sonora travels down to Linden to look to remain undefeated. Our other big game, Calaveras traveled over to Bret Hart for their version of the big game on that side of the river, and what a game it was. I said last week that this was probably the best chance for Bret Hart in over 15 years to put up a fight against Calaveras, and they just fell a little short, falling to Calaveras 27-26 on yet another very interesting decision by the Bret Hart coach. Bret Hart had the lead 13-0 with 6 minutes to go in the half after missing an extra point, and that's going to be something that you're going to hear a lot of in this. Calaveras would find the end zone to make it 13-7, but Bret Hart would answer back with a score of their own. But again, missed the extra point. 19-7 now Bret Hart would have the lead. Calaveras would score again to make it a close 19-14 game at half. Well, in the third quarter, Calaveras would take their first lead of the night. A two-point conversion failed, and Calaveras had the lead 20-19. Well, with 1 minute left in the third, Bret Hart goes back on top 25-20. And this is where it gets a little strange. You know, every coach has one of those cards that says when to go for one and when to go for two. Well, guess what? Bret Hart goes for one, up by 5, to take a 26-20 lead. Why? I don't know what they're thinking over there in Bret Hart, but wrong call. With under a minute left, Calaveras scores. They kick the extra PAT. Calaveras wins 27-26. Another tough loss for Bret Hart. This week, Calaveras has a bye, and Bret Hart travels over to Amador, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That brings us to our game of the week, Argonaut and Amador, the big game. The game started with so much anticipation by both teams, and both defenses came out fired up. And at the end of the first quarter, it was still 0-0 on the scoreboard. At the start of the second quarter, Amador gets on the scoreboard on a 33-yard field goal by Herrera. Argonaut comes right back down, and on third down, Albiani drops back to pass, and let's hear what happens next.
Still don't know what that was. Mason Flores in motion. Albiani wants to throw. He's looking. He's got time. Now he's in trouble. He launches it deep. He's got a receiver out there. Caught down to about the 1 yard line. Completed to Mason Flores.
And Frank, that was a fourth down play right there.
No, it was third down.
Third down play. Mustang converted. Would have brought up a long fourth down if incomplete. We're going to call that your utility telecom call of the game.
Great throw by Albiani, great catch by Johnny White in the call of the game that you just heard. And I think Jim corrected me. Those numbers got me again. I thought it was 23 Mason Flores, but it was 33 Johnny White. So let's make that our call of the game, Albiani to Johnny White, where Johnny White got down to the 1 yard line. That was our play of the game, and then Albiani punched it in from there, and the Mustangs would take a 7-3 lead into halftime. The third quarter saw more great defense by both teams. Amador found the end zone on a 19-yard TD by Reese Gilmore. And at the end of 3, Amador had a precarious 10-7 lead over Argonaut. Well, Albiani would punch it in from the 1, and Argonaut was back on top 14-10. Argonaut would then score again, this time Johnny White from 32 yards out, and Argonaut would take a 21-10 lead with time running out. This one looked over as fans started heading for the exits, But Amador wasn't done. Burns hit McCoy for 9 yards out, and the score was Argonaut 21, Amador 16. Well, Amador would attempt an onside kick that was recovered by Argonaut, and it looked like Argonaut was just going to run out the clock. They had it at 3rd and 1. A first down, game's pretty much over. However, Argonaut is called for an offside penalty on the offense. Now, those of you football fans out there, I want you to think back. You see procedure calls, you see motion calls. When was the last time you saw an offense called for offsides? Well, you look at the film, you be the judge. Argonaut turns it over on downs, and after a couple more flags, interesting, found from the officials, Amador had it all the way down to the 3-yard line, where Thedfer punches it in. The 2-point conversion is good, and Amador retains the Rotary Bell for the 4th year in a row. Final score, 24 Amador, 21 Argonaut. Now, Coach, folks, I just want to make a correction here because I hope my comments were not misconstrued. As a sports fan, whether it's high school, whether it's NBA, NFL, anytime I'm watching a game and the officials are just deciding too much of what's going on and not left up to the players, that bothers me. In no way did any of my words or anything I say have any intent towards the coaches, to the players. I thought it was either one of the schools. I thought it was a well-played game by both sides, especially the defense by both Amador and Argonaut. So I wanted to make sure, and I made a correction for any of you that might have been offended by that. I call the game as I see it. I have no horse in this race. I just call it like I see it. Great big game, victory for Amador. Congratulations to the Buffaloes. All right, this week, Argonaut travels to Somerville, and their backs are against the wall. They've now got 2 league losses, and there's probably only going to be 3 teams that are going to make the playoffs from the Mother Lode League. And right now, Argonaut cannot afford another one, and it's always difficult to travel all the way over to Somerville. That's where Argonaut's heading this week. And Amador hosts a Bret Hart team, and as we've seen, Bret Hart's game. They've got a good football team. They've lost a couple very close games, and it's not going to be an easy pull for Amador. I think both teams have a difficult time this week, but I expect them both to get victories. So that's it for this week's Pigskin Preview. We're looking forward to this week's game between Argonaut and Somerville, Amador and Bret Hart. Sonora Linden, not so much. Hope you're with us. See you next time.